She stole my promotion and my boyfriend, so I handed her my resignation letter, paperclipped to her ex's phone number. If you've ever been betrayed by the people you trusted most, you'll understand why I did what I did. Let me take you through it. And if it hits home, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You never know who might need to hear this. For the past 4 years, I gave everything to the company. Late nights, skipped vacations, and weekends spent fixing other people's mistakes. I never complained. I believed that hard work would pay off, that if I stayed loyal, someone would notice. My boss had even hinted I was next in line for the senior team lead position. I believed him. Then came the team meeting. Everyone was gathered in the conference room. I remember sitting there, trying to act calm while my heart raced. The moment arrived. My boss smiled and said he was thrilled to announce our new senior lead, and then he said Lily's name. Lily. The same Lily I'd mentored since her first day. The same one who used to knock on my door asking for help with her reports. I clapped with everyone else, forcing a smile, but inside I felt like the floor had disappeared. Still, I told myself it was just work. Maybe it was politics. Maybe next time. But that same evening, everything fell apart. I got home early, holding Jeremy's favorite takeout. We hadn't been connecting lately, but I wanted to fix things. I opened the door, expecting to surprise him. And I did. Except I was the one who got shocked. Jeremy, my boyfriend of 3 years, standing there in our living room, with Lily. They didn't even hear me come in. They were laughing, too close, too familiar. When they saw me, the color drained from their faces. Jeremy stuttered something about it not being what it looked like. Lily didn't even try to explain. I walked out without saying a word. I didn't cry that night. Not one tear. I just sat in silence, my takeout getting cold, while my mind started working. 2 betrayals in one day. One took my job, the other took my heart. But they didn't take my spirit. That was the moment I decided they weren't going to win. And I wasn't going to get even by shouting or begging. No, I had something better in mind. Something quiet, sharp, and unforgettable. It started with a resignation letter. But I wasn't just going to quit. I was going to leave something behind that Lily would never forget. Something that would remind her that no matter what mask you wear, the truth always finds you. And when it does, it doesn't knock. It walks right through the door, just like I did. I kept replaying everything in my mind, trying to figure out how I didn't see it coming. The more I thought about it, the clearer it all became. This wasn't just a random twist of fate. It was planned. It was personal. Lily had always played the sweet, eager-to-learn new girl. On her first day, she sat right next to me, asking questions, taking notes, acting like I was some kind of genius. I didn't mind. In fact, I liked helping her. I believed in supporting other women in the workplace, and she made it easy to like her. Over the months, she leaned on me for everything. Can you check this for me? I don't get this client's tone. Can you help rewrite it? You're so good at this. I don't know how you do it. And I fell for it. Every time she asked for help, I gave it. I let her borrow my presentation templates, coached her before meetings, even let her use parts of my old campaign decks for inspiration. I even remember the day she brought up the promotion. I'm not sure I'm ready, she said shyly, twirling a pen in her fingers. But Marissa, you've done so much already. You're obviously getting it. I laughed. It's yours if you want it. Go for it. That night, I helped her polish her pitch deck. She said she wanted feedback, and I gave it. I should have known. Every slide had my voice on it, my style, my thinking, just repackaged with her name. Then there were the comments. You're so intense. I could never work as hard as you. Or, you always look so serious. You should smile more in meetings. I thought she was just being playful. Looking back, those weren't jokes. They were jabs wrapped in sugar. And Jeremy. I ignored the signs. He started hiding his phone when I walked into the room. He used to tell me everything. Now it was always just work stuff. I'd wake up to see him texting late at night. When I asked who it was, he'd mumble, just people from the office. I wanted to believe him. I trusted him. But the distance was there. He'd stopped asking how my day was. He forgot things I told him. And now I know why. He wasn't listening because his heart wasn't here anymore. It was already with her. This betrayal wasn't random. It didn't just happen. They took their time. They studied me, used me, and when I had nothing left to give, they took what I had worked for and smiled while doing it. I didn't scream. I didn't cry at my desk. I didn't throw anything or make a scene. I showed up to work the next day like nothing had happened. Hair done, lipstick on, calm smile in place. But inside, a quiet storm had started. Lily was all sunshine and sugar. Morning, Marissa, she chirped, walking into the office with coffee in both hands, one for her, one for me. I took it without a word, placed it on my desk, and let it go cold. She smiled like nothing had happened, like she hadn't stolen my job and my boyfriend in the same breath. Jeremy kept texting like we were still fine. Hey babe, wanna grab dinner tonight? You've been quiet. Everything okay? I didn't reply. I didn't block him either. I let him stay in the dark, just like he had kept me. Instead, I started taking screenshots of every message, every picture he sent. I wanted receipts. Not to make a scene, but to remember. To keep myself sharp. Anger is a great fuel if you know how to use it right. I watched Lily closely. Not with hatred, but with purpose. She had her routines. Coffee at 8:15, calls with the design team at 10, gossip sessions in the break room by 2. She always left her desk unlocked. She was careless in her victory. That's what made it easy. She talked too much. One day after a few drinks during happy hour, months ago, she mentioned an ex, Wade. She called him boring. Said he was a carpenter or something like that. Nice guy, but going nowhere, she slurred. At the time, I just nodded. Now, I wrote the name down and underlined it twice. At night, I would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, heart racing but face still. I felt everything, sadness, confusion, anger. But I didn't let it break me. I just let it settle. I journaled, I worked out, I got my sleep. During the day, I smiled at clients, delivered great reports, and watched Lily try to fill a position she wasn't ready for. She fumbled more than she thought, and people were starting to notice. Still, she smiled at me, like we were friends, like nothing had changed. I didn't give her the reaction she wanted. I didn't show her pain. I gave her silence. I gave her distance. And while she played the part of the happy team lead, I gathered every piece I needed. Notes, schedules, names, memories. This wasn't just revenge for a promotion or a cheating boyfriend. This was about reminding them who I was. I wasn't loud. I wasn't dramatic. But I was patient. And that's something they should have never underestimated. Lily's new role came with pressure, more than she expected. And I knew that pressure would expose her. I didn't need to ruin her. I just needed to let her ruin herself, with a little nudge here and there. It started small. She asked me to polish a presentation for a client meeting, something I'd done a dozen times before. I accidentally saved over it with an outdated file. She panicked minutes before the meeting, scrambling to explain. The client looked confused. My face stayed blank. Next week, I forwarded her the wrong set of metrics for her quarterly report. She didn't double-check, of course not. She assumed I was still her helpful little assistant. She ended up giving the board a completely inaccurate growth projection. Our director didn't say much, but I saw the raised eyebrow. Lily laughed it off. Just a mix-up. But that was the second strike. People were watching now. Meanwhile, I started requesting solo meetings with the firm's oldest clients. I told them I just wanted to keep the relationship strong. Most of them didn't even know Lily had replaced me. "Oh, I thought you were still in charge," one of them said. I smiled politely. "No, but I'm still here for you." That trust came back quickly. I never badmouthed Lily. I didn't have to. I let her performance speak for itself. Then one afternoon, I stayed late finishing up a deck. Lily was pacing near the break room, phone pressed to her ear. I could hear her even from where I sat. "No, Wade, I told you. Do not contact me again. I don't care if it was 2 years ago. You're still the same loser you were then." I paused. Wade. The name she'd slurred over drinks during a company happy hour. Her ex-boyfriend. She always made him sound like a nobody, like she was embarrassed she ever dated him. But now, the sharp tone in her voice told me there was more to that story. I leaned back in my chair, thinking. That name had been in the back of my mind for weeks. Now it was glowing. Lily clearly wanted him gone from her life. And suddenly, I wanted to know everything about him. What if the key to her unraveling wasn't in the office? What if it was someone from her past? Someone she thought she'd never see again? That's when the real plan began to take shape. Finding Wade wasn't easy. I didn't have his last name, just a half-memory of Lily drunk ranting about him at a team happy hour almost a year ago. She'd laughed too loud, called him a man-child with a beard and a garage full of dreams. Most people ignored it. I remembered. I went through old networking mixer photos, scrolling through group shots from our agency's past events. Finally, I saw one Lily, holding a glass of wine, standing next to a tall guy in a flannel shirt. He wasn't looking at the camera, but on the table in front of him was a business card. I zoomed in. Wade Carrington, Custom Furniture and Woodcraft Studio, Logan Square. Gotcha. A week later, I walked into his workshop like any other curious customer. The place smelled like fresh-cut cedar and varnish. Light filtered in through a skylight, landing on unfinished chairs and carved tabletop. Wade was sanding down a slab of walnut, his sleeves rolled up and sawdust in his hair. He looked up, surprised. "You here for a table?" I smiled. "Maybe." We talked. I asked about designs, would types custom work. He explained everything with passion. There was something calming about the way he moved, slow, precise, like every piece mattered. After half an hour, I gently said, "I think I might have met your ex." He stopped mid-sentence. "Lily," I added. His jaw tightened. "That explains it." "Explains what?" "Why someone like you would walk in here asking about walnut inlays with zero idea what that means." I laughed. "Busted. Look, I'm not here to dig up your past. I just wanted to see who she walked away from. He raised an eyebrow. She dumped me when I told her I didn't want a real job. Said ambition was sexy. I guess building things with your hands doesn't count. There was no sadness in his voice, just irritation, and maybe a little pride. He hadn't chased her. He'd kept building. We ended up chatting for another hour. I didn't push too hard. I didn't ask him for help. Not yet. But I showed up again a few days later. Just browsing, I said. We drank coffee and talked about everything except Lily. I told him I worked in marketing, that I was thinking about starting fresh. He didn't judge. He just nodded and told me to trust my gut. Wade was charming in a quiet way. He wasn't flashy, not the kind of guy Lily would flaunt at parties, but he was solid, smart, and had a quiet kind of confidence that made you want to listen. I was building something too, not out of wood, but out of patience. And when the moment was right, I'd tell him exactly why I came. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't loud. It's careful, and it's built piece by piece. It was a quiet Tuesday evening when Wade and I sat down for dinner at a little Italian place near his workshop. No candles, no forced smiles, just warm bread, slow music, and easy conversation. I told him about my job, how it had gone from passion to poison. He listened, never interrupting, just nodding slowly, his eyes steady. Then I asked him the question, "Would you do me a favor?" I said, gently swirling my glass. He smirked. "Is this about a table again?" "Not exactly." I smiled. "I want you to pretend to be my boyfriend, just for one moment. At work, in front of Lily." There was a pause, and then Wade laughed. Not the kind of laugh that mocks, but the kind that says, "You're bold, and I respect it." "You know what?" he said, leaning back. "Yeah, let's give her something to look at." From there, the plan started to take shape. I wasn't aiming for drama. I didn't want to scream or throw coffee in anyone's face. I wanted something quieter, smarter, something Lily would feel long after I walked out of that office. That night, I opened my laptop and started drafting my resignation letter. Not a rushed email or a dramatic farewell, a carefully worded goodbye, honest but composed. I thanked the company for the opportunities, listed a few proud achievements, and expressed hope for their continued success. But near the end, I wrote a single line, just for Lily. "To the woman who taught me what kind of leader I never want to be, thank you. You've reminded me exactly who I don't want to become." Then, below the signature, I added one more sentence. No explanation, no fluff. "And here's a little something to remind you who you let go." I took out a paperclip and attached Wade's number to the bottom of the letter. It wasn't about making her jealous. It was about giving her a quiet echo that would follow her long after I left. A moment she couldn't erase or spin to her benefit. Wade was someone she dismissed, tossed aside like he didn't matter. Now he'd walk in beside the woman she betrayed. The power of it wasn't in shouting. It was in walking away with grace and leaving behind a mirror. The office was unusually quiet that morning. You could feel the tension in the air, like the moment right before a thunderstorm. I'd worn my best blazer, not because I was dressing to impress, but because I wanted to look like someone in control, like someone who was already gone, in every way that mattered. The leadership meeting was held in the main conference room, glass walls giving everyone outside a clear view. I waited until they were all seated, my boss, HR, senior managers, and of course Lily. She was seated at the far end, all smiles and fake confidence. I walked in with a calm expression and a sealed envelope in hand. I didn't rush, didn't fumble. I stood by the door, caught my boss's attention, and said clearly, "Excuse me. I won't take much of your time." Everyone looked up. "I'm submitting my resignation," I said, walking to the table. I handed the envelope directly to my boss, but my eyes never left Lily's. I gave her the smallest, tightest smile, the kind that says you know exactly what you did. She blinked but didn't say a word. I turned and walked out, not stopping to listen, not needing a response. I'd already packed up my things earlier that morning. No one saw me cry because I hadn't. That part of me, the part that hurt, had already gone silent. Back in her office, Lily tore open the envelope. I imagined her face as she read the letter, calm and precise in tone, offering no space for her to twist the narrative. But it was the last line that did it. The paperclip holding Wade's number, right there at the bottom, like a signature she never expected. At that very moment, Wade walked through the lobby. He looked like himself, relaxed jeans, a fitted shirt with sawdust still on the sleeves, completely unaware of the corporate tension he was walking into. He approached the front desk and politely asked the receptionist, "Hi, I'm looking for Lily Carter." The receptionist glanced at him, then toward Lily's office, where a few co-workers were already whispering. Word spread fast. By the time Lily stepped out, her face pale, people were already peeking around corners, pretending not to stare. Her eyes met Wade's. She froze. He gave her a polite nod, not a smile. Not anger either, just neutral, like someone seeing an old photo that no longer holds weight. Lily looked around, realizing how many people were watching. She tried to act calm, but her hand was shaking as she brushed her hair behind her ear. The whispers turned into silent judgment. People weren't laughing, they were just seeing her, really seeing her. And for the first time since she slithered her way into my life, Lily Carter had no word. That moment was mine, and I didn't even have to be there to enjoy it. Lily tried to brush it off like it was nothing. She even joked in the break room, saying, "Old flames die hard, I guess," with a weak laugh. But the cracks were showing. People whispered behind her back now, not because she was powerful, but because they saw through her. The shine was gone. Her confidence looked forced, her leadership shaky. During meetings, she stumbled over numbers she used to breeze through. Clients started questioning her updates. She'd call Marissa's name mid-sentence before realizing she wasn't there anymore. The team began going to the assistant manager instead of Lily. And the worst part, Wade never reached out again. He came, he saw, and he left. Whatever Lily had expected from that reunion, it didn't happen. Wade had moved on. He didn't yell, didn't argue. He just showed up to remind her of who she used to be, and walked away without a second look. Meanwhile, Marissa was doing just fine. She'd taken time off, real time off. She didn't jump to the next job. She rested. She read books, took long walks by the lake. Her phone stayed on silent, and her smile grew easier by the day. Then, one rainy evening, Jeremy showed up at her apartment. She saw him through the peephole, standing there with a bunch of flowers in one hand and what looked like takeout in the other. His eyes were tired, shirt wrinkled, hair unbrushed. He knocked. He waited. He even tried calling her once. She didn't answer. She stood just a few feet away, heart calm, mind clear. Watching him through the window blinds as he shifted his weight, looked at the flowers, and finally turned around. She didn't feel sad. Not anymore. Just finished. 2 weeks later, a mutual friend texted her. "Did you hear? Lily and Jeremy broke up." Marissa didn't respond. She just looked out at the city lights and smiled to herself. Some people get what they deserve in loud, dramatic ways. Others lose everything quietly, their power, their pride, their place, while the person they betrayed simply moves on. Marissa didn't need revenge that screamed. She got the kind that echoed. Marissa walked into her new office with a quiet kind of pride. The boutique firm wasn't flashy, but it was warm. People smiled when she passed by. Her new manager didn't care about office politics, only results and respect. And Marissa had both to offer. The difference was night and day. She was no longer competing with people who smiled to her face and stole behind her back. Here, her ideas were heard. Her late nights were appreciated, not expected. And best of all, she could breathe again. She unpacked slowly that first week. A photo of her sister, a small plant, her favorite mug. Last to go in was a slim envelope, her resignation letter, folded neatly, paper clips still attached. She slid it into the top drawer of her desk. Not out of bitterness. Not out of spite. Just as a quiet reminder of everything she walked away from, and everything she learned to survive. Every so often, her mind would drift. Not to Lily. Not even to Jeremy. But to how close she'd come to losing herself. Working late to prove her worth. Loving people who gave her less than she deserved. That version of her was gone now. She didn't hate that girl. She just wouldn't be her again. One afternoon, as she wrapped up a campaign proposal, her phone buzzed with a message from an unfamiliar number. "Wade." It just said, "You ever need a chair built, you know where to find me." She stared at it for a few seconds, a soft smile playing on her lips. Wade had been a part of the plan, but he'd also been kind, real. He saw through Lily before anyone else did. But Marissa wasn't looking to start anything. That wasn't what this was about. This wasn't about replacing betrayal with romance. It was about ending a story on her own terms. She locked her phone and tucked it into her purse, the message still unread. Then she stepped back into the meeting room where her team was waiting, ready to present her strategy. She stood straighter now, spoke clearer, trusted her gut. Because the best revenge wasn't just leaving. It was rebuilding, quietly, powerfully, and never needing to look back. Sometimes Marissa sat by her window on quiet nights, sipping tea and thinking back, not with anger, but with calm. There had been no shouting, no storming out, no dramatic scenes, just a few carefully chosen actions that spoke louder than any argument ever could. She hadn't exposed Lily in some big office scandal. She hadn't ruined her. She'd simply let Lily reveal herself, handed her a mirror, and walked away before the cracks fully showed. And Jeremy? She'd let him walk too. No begging. No, why did you do this to me? Because honestly, she already knew the answer. Some people chase shiny things. That didn't mean they knew how to keep them. What surprised Marissa most wasn't the betrayal, but how clear everything became after it. Like a fog lifting, she realized how much she'd been bending, shrinking, softening herself to keep others comfortable, helping Lily polish her pitch, letting Jeremy's distance slide, smiling through doubt just to be seen as a team player. Now she saw it all for what it was, survival. But not strength. Real strength had come later, in the silence, in the choices made after the hurt. Quietly observing, planning, and deciding not to break. She didn't win her old job back. She didn't want to. That chapter was done. What she had now was better, peace. Her mind wasn't filled with what-ifs. She didn't stay awake replaying conversations or wondering if she should have yelled more. There was nothing left to say. Some people think revenge means destruction. But for Marissa, it had been about clarity, about making a clean break, not from others, but from the version of herself who tolerated less than she deserved. She looked at her reflection in the window, stronger, steadier, wiser, and maybe someday someone would come into her life who wouldn't see her value as a threat. But even if they didn't, she'd be okay. Because she knew now, peace was worth more than promotions, and self-respect more than any relationship. She didn't regret a single move. And she wouldn't trade that clarity for any title in the world. What would you have done in Marissa's place? Walked away with your head high, or confronted them face to face? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd really love to hear them. And if stories like this speak to you, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're always in the loop.